These are pretty good, man. Are these like seasoned or like with like South Carolina tears?
Yeah. It's a little bit salty for my taste, but these tears taste so good on these Gamecock chicken wings.
I'm really glad you got the lemon pepper wings instead of that South Carolina gold this week. I figured that'd be pretty foul.
You're totally right. I mean, don't get me wrong. When we'd have Gamecock in the Spurrier days, it was a lot more gratifying.
It really was.
But I mean,
'Cause that's a hard bird to catch.
yeah, these are still really good. I mean,
Winter chicken dinner.
that's right. South Carolina was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Let's try these hots out. This one kind of tastes like Debo Samuel's talking too much crap and not being able to back it up.
33 yards, 10 receptions. That's tasty.
That's real good.
That's tasty.
What's yours taste like, Chito?
Victory.
Oh, man.
Savory victory.
And that's the best taste of all. This is Off the Leash. Welcome back. It's real good. Seriously, shout out to City Wings.
I do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs.
We some dogs.
Hey,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
a dog. Woo! Got that W, boy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey,
Hell yeah.
That's a convincing win.
Man.
If I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Everything
that
I
felt
wanted
good.
to know, I know
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Like all three phases.
Right.
Dude, I mean, and even me, like we talked about, like I thought they were gonna hang for the first half,
Right.
Which they did, and then the horses just got to running on them.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a very close game the first half. I give it to South Carolina. They came out and played hard. They challenged us. But the second half, I don't know if it was halftime adjustments. I think it was a little bit of that and just our depth caught up to them, and we just made plays. So I feel like this is the difference, man. It's like this is the difference. And now when we're supposed to, beat a team handily like South Carolina, we do, and sometimes I don't know if it's – I think a lot of it has to do with, the level of talent. We just have more depth. We're recruiting at a different level. And Mark Richt didn't have us there, but if it weren't for that Mark Richt era that was so great at the time, we wouldn't even be here. So I don't, take it against Mark Richt. I just feel like everything's come full circle, and we're finally winning games that we're supposed to handedly. And I think that we're going to run away with the SEC East this year, man. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
It's hard not to, though. It's hard not to.
But I'm feeling very good because arguably South Carolina is the best team we play in the SEC East
Looking
this
at
year.
Florida now, getting beat by Kentucky, I think.
Wow.
I mean, Missouri still got to show themselves. They haven't played anybody yet. We'll be the
Kentucky's
first.
on the up and up to give them
Yeah,
credit.
and
They have
I
a great
thought that from the
coaching
get-go,
staff.
but I
They've
think
finally
South
been getting
Carolina.
recruits. Right. Yeah, South Carolina's our toughest game. So
I agree.
Man, we came out there. Speaking of, I love some Gamecock for supper, man. This is one of the best things that you can
What's
ever
your favorite
have.
flavor?
My favorite flavor is the kind when they're very disappointed and they thought they were supposed to win.
I agree.
I love that.
Those are the most tasty.
That's probably my favorite flavor.
Especially when it's in Columbia.
Right.
I think those are the best tasting ones, to be honest. So.
Yeah.
We'll
All
listen.
stages of the game.
Well, listen, I mean, going into South Carolina, that was never going to be easy. But I think when you start your first defensive possession with a pick six or almost pick six, DeAndre Baker looking at you, like that took all the air out of the stadium. And then on top of that, like we almost messed that up. That would have been like a Mark Richt play. Like we get a pick six, drop it at the one, and they recover or something. But Juwan Taylor with the presence of mind,
we lucked out.
owning
right
his
there,
keep
for sure.
as a senior, scooping that and scoring. It didn't make any big headway, but that's kind of the Kirby effect. Like even when we make mistakes, like we have players looking out to correct those mistakes. And I think little things like that is where our program is different.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like that South Carolina just was overmatched from top to bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah. And we'll get to the stats and everything here in a second, but for those of you who remember the Mark Richt days, I think what we're starting to see is now, we used to have, 3 stars or maybe some highly rated 4 stars. And, a lot of times they played up to that billing. Sometimes, you would have a Todd Gurley or something like that, and they exceed expectations. Now what we're starting to see are 5-star monsters coming in from day one.
Wow, yeah.
And meeting those expectations, and then sometimes, exceeding that. So I feel like I mean, think about how scary that is. We've always had the athletes, and they were just performing at what they were expected to, sometimes better. Now it's, I mean, day in and day out. That's going to be tough for anybody. On the road, at home, I don't care.
Yeah, and you speak of, players coming in. We had Andrew Thomas go down. It was pretty, scary injury at first, but it's an ankle. He's day-to-day. And Cade Mays coming in strong, coming in clutch, really doing what he needed to do in the game. I know Kirby said he made some mistakes, but it's kind of like, a musical piece. Sometimes the audience doesn't hear it. I don't know what he did wrong, but
yeah,
I didn't notice anything. So I feel very confident, coming into the next week. But South Carolina, man, I feel like they have a good passing attack. They have a pretty solid defense, but just completely overmatched. We have a committee of receivers, committee of running backs. You saw McCole Hardman come in and have a great game.
Amazing game.
He made a lot of big plays, and he's just going to be a continued staple of our offense. And we have other wide receivers, too, that can come in, make plays, come in, bring speed, come in, surprise you because, you just don't know who's going to get the ball. Even our third string tight end was the number one tight end in the nation of his class. So we just have depth, and that's something that only a few people are going to be able to match up against. And if we just continue to play hard, play to a standard, I think we're going to see a lot more games like we did South Carolina.
Yeah, going back to McCole Hardman, I think what it looks like Kirby and Chaney have decided is we're going to use this guy like a Percy Harvin. And if you remember those Florida days, that kid was so explosive. Jet sweep, he's taking the top off of defense. I think Demetrius Robertson can play that type of role too. But it was good to see him. He's only been a wide receiver now for, 2 consecutive seasons. Like, he played quarterback in high school, came here as a DB, switched over for depth reasons. And the kid is just balled out. It took him a little while to get his feet underneath him, but he's come a long way, in my opinion.
Well, me and you would go back and forth. We send highlight videos to each other occasionally, and This is one of these guys that coming in, we knew he had every intangible athletically. He played QB. He had his hands on the football almost every play in some instance. So anytime you got that kind of ball player coming in, that's just a great thing for your program. And he's been able to switch from defense, like you said, to offense, and he's doing as well as you could have hoped. And you talk about another guy like that, a guy I'm high on, Richard LeCount, came in, had a lot of good plays. He's showing his presence as a dominant safety moving forward. It's exciting.
Yeah, the secondary looked good as well. And I know when we went into the game, we did our we picked 5 things that were going to be keys to the game. So, we just want to take a second and kind of go over those keys and see, what we were good at, what was a difference in the game, or maybe something that was completely, not relevant at all. So, just number 5, we started with penalties. We have 4 penalties for 47 yards. Now, I feel like that was a good day because if you remember early on the game, DeAndre Baker had that first pass interference, but to me, that was completely uncatchable. I don't even think that was even close. And then he had another pass interference he was pulling the jersey, pretty clear. So as far as penalties go, we had a great day. Now for turnovers, I feel like that was good too. Do you remember last year, Bentley threw 2 picks today as well. And then Jake Fromm had that one. You were just commenting on how sometimes he makes those throws. It's just like, what are you doing? I don't know if it was a communication with the receiver or what, but that one got away from him.
I think sometimes Jake Fromm, I think he's still learning to be level-headed. I think he's getting into a position where every now and then he just wants to make plays and he's eager. And I like that he's taking chances, but I also like that, I like that he's taking chances.
Yeah. Now, a big matchup we are looking forward to. This was number 3 on my keys of the game, that DeAndre Baker, Deebo Samuel matchup. How did you feel about that one?
Man, I feel like if you're going to talk as much smack, you got to back it up.
You better show up.
And that's the thing, like our guy didn't talk that much smack.
None.
Didn't talk that much shit going throughout the week, and then he came to play. So, he let his talking stand on the field. And I think that's just how we want to operate. We don't want to get into this battle of antics. And it's
For
like,
what?
It's like Kirby said, they don't preach being chippy. It leads to bad plays, bad discipline, penalties. They teach coming in, playing your best game, being physical for sure, but sometimes the emotional side of football can get away from you, and that's when you get people getting hurt. You got mistakes happening that shouldn't, all because your players are just in the wrong mindset. And if they're focused on their job, that's a good focus, and that's just like how we want to operate. I feel like that's what we did. Deebo Samuels came out and talked a lot of smack. I feel like it's not necessarily a good indicator of your program when you're doing that kind of thing. It brings bad attention to the program. And, we want to be professional. So that's what we're about, and that's what we do.
Yeah, like you said, man, let us play do the talking on the field. Now, I'm sure a lot of Georgia fans have seen a couple of our, the university's social media outlets. He did have a little something to say after the game. He said, hey, they didn't know me before. They know me now.
Yeah.
Like him and Richard LeCounte, like, they know me now. I was like, hey, only Debo I know is on Friday. Got hit in the head, hit Craig in the head with a brick. It was like, hey, they know me now. And there's no doubt, like, take nothing away from Debo Samuel. That kid is a baller, and he still had 10 receptions.
Right.
But that's what you call smothering defense, dude. I posted a little defensive clip to my story the other day, and it was just a little clip of when Jake Bentley and them, right before the J.R. Reed interception, he tries to do this little quarterback draw type play. I mean, 7 defenders were on him, not just for a tackle, swarming him, trying to rip the ball out, trying to take him out like that. If you love defense, bro, you're gonna love this defense this year. Like we're not the biggest up front, but we're deep. We can rotate, and they are fast.
Absolutely. I feel like we just have a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of size. It's what it takes.
Yeah, in the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to.
So.
And another key that actually came down to the game, I thought was going to be kind of the balance of our offense. Like, were we going to, just try to pound them, lean on them with the big boys, or throw it around? Now, what ended up happening was Jake Fromm threw for 2 touchdowns, and all 3 of our running backs scored. Holyfield, Swift, and Herron all scored on a touchdown, and it was about 250 or so passing and running or rushing the ball. So it was well balanced, and again, that just makes it hard. Like, you cannot key on any one of our players. Like, who are you going to stop, and what are you giving up? It makes it hard.
Yeah, I feel like, we talked about before the game how someone like McCole Hardwin, someone like Terry Godwin, someone like Demetrius Robertson, all could be arguably the number 1 receiver at South Carolina. So I feel like when you have that kind of issue going on at several different levels of playing, it's just going to be tough. If you don't come out and play discipline, South Carolina did not play discipline enough, and they suffered because of it. So
They did. Now, they stuck with it early on, even though they went down 14-0 early. They responded. I think it was like 17-10 or something at half.
Right.
And then, number 1 key to the game, just because he's been so good at it, was adjustments. And he likes to downplay it. Sometimes we just go back to running the ball and there's not much of adjustment. But if you look at that third quarter, first drive, touchdown. Defense gets back on the field, 3 and out. Second drive, touchdown. Defense gets back on the field, 3 and out. Third drive, touchdown. And again, defense 3 and out. That's 21-0 in the third quarter. That is like watching the Golden State Warriors. You know how they bury teams in the third? That is what we did. I don't know if that's going to be a part of our identity or whatever, but that depth in that second half, if you get lost in the third, you're done. You know what I mean? You're done. You have your will is broken after that. And I felt like, we actually touched on all the keys of the game, and they'll play bigger roles in other games, but I feel for you, South Carolina. I mean, you saw what we saw. Again, we weren't expecting an ass whooping, I don't think, as far as like fans. Like, we know how good that y'all play in Columbia, but
right, and
this is not Mark Richt teams anymore. That's done.
Coming into the game, it had a lot of hype, and you knew that it was going to be a big game for South Carolina because it had been a while since they had had a top 25 matchup at home. So it's a big game. I've seen firsthand in 2012 how awful it can be at the hands of being the visiting team in Williams-Brice Stadium. And honestly, immediately getting down 14-0, that stadium was quiet.
Exactly.
And that's just what you want as coming in on the road. So I feel like that just played a big game in a momentum. I feel like if you're a team like South Carolina, it's going to take a lot of, belief, and immediately being demoralized that quickly is just not how you want to start the game. So I was really proud of our team.
So, yeah, moving forward, I felt the same way, exactly how you feel, really proud, and just not to see that let down. No more playing down to the level of our opponents, playing to a standard and leaving it that way. But, I just kind of want to speak for all Georgia fans real quick. I want to give you a little pat on the back. Can I get a little pat on the back as well? All right. And then that's that. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's it.
We all know that South Carolina, this was like a Super Bowl for them, as Clemson will be. We're moving on. We're not worried about this.
That's right.
It's win the East and get back to the SEC or bust. We'll talk about the playoff when that kind of gets around, but we're focused, and that's a big one for the first in conference play and the first of many.
Absolutely. Cool, man.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to next week and catching up with you guys. Make sure you check out the Instagram page that we have, Dogs Off the Leash, and also our podcast. We'll have a link on the page to our Anchor podcast. Check them out, and we'll be hearing from you guys soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Go Dogs.
Awesome. Sign
I
out.
do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. Do it for the dogs. I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs. Who you do it for? 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 I do it for the dogs. I do it for my dogs.